S. Chan presents Educational Video Lectures as per the new UGC curriculum. Difficult concepts made easy. Study anywhere, anytime.
Over 1.1 billion people are living in least developed countries. Soaring debts, poverty, adverse climatic conditions are some of the main features of the developing countries.
To get in-depth knowledge of various subjects in commerce, we recommend these books from S. Chan Publishing and Vikas Publishing House. Link is provided in the description box.
Welcome to S. Chan Academy. My name is Saurabh Gupta. Let's start with the new video. So we are going to look into the problems of developing countries in this video, and we'll be talking about what are the adversities, what are the problems that are faced by developing countries, and because of which, even if they want to pace up with the developed countries, they want to be parallel to developed countries, but they cannot, right, because of certain factors. So we'll look into those factors and we'll talk about each one of them in detail, right? So the first one which is given here is limited access to finance and investment opportunities. See, most of the countries which are developing countries, they don't have the right infrastructure to develop themselves in the sense that if they want to industrialize the economy, they cannot. Reason being, they do not have the sufficient population or the right population who is skilled enough to industrialize their economy, or sometimes they do not have the right resource or the right factor endowment, because of which the development is at a very slow rate, or sometimes there is no development at all. They are even striving to survive in a specific situation which is adverse, right? High levels of poverty and income inequality, this is the main feature of a specific developing economy. High level of poverty means that there is no employment opportunity, there is low level of employment opportunity, there is a kind of struggle to earn about the basic necessities of a specific human life, right? So if we talk about income inequality, there is a lot of disparity between the income of the given people in a specific economy which is developing country, right? So poverty is one thing which is very much a factor of a developing economy. Poverty leads to a struggle which specific economies population would always strive for enhancing their life every now and then and in our day-to-day life, right? And they would always find out or try to find out the opportunities to earn their livelihood, basically, right? Now, lack of basic infrastructure and inadequate public services. Now, when we talk about basic infrastructure means we do not have a sufficient amount of hospitals, we do not have proper schools for education impartation, right? We do not have a proper road infrastructure to connect with the villages to the cities, so that a proper transportation can exist. And then there are other infrastructure facilities wherein there are government offices which can regulate several other facilities as well, right? Vulnerability to external economic shocks and fluctuation. Let's say एक specific time period में 2008 के time पे एक recession आया जिसने पूरे वर्ल्ड में जो भी डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज थे उनको बहुत इम्पैक्ट किया था, एंड दैट रेसेशन स्टार्टेड फ्रॉम रशिया, सॉरी इट स्टार्टेड फ्रॉम यूएस, राइट? एंड रेसेशन स्टार्टेड फ्रॉम यूएस, इट लेड टू impact to all the trading countries with the US. There are Indian people living in different parts of US, right? And when this recession came, Indian people were also affected. They were thrown out of the job, and because of which they had to come back and flew back to their origin country. And they even created a pressure of employment here in our country as well. But somehow things were resolved and things were taken care of in India. But talking about other countries, the problem was that the other countries could not cope up with the specific recession going on then, right? And because of this, the people living in other countries, or sometimes people living in the domestic country itself, could not earn their livelihood. in that sense, right? Now, talking about insufficient technology and advancements and innovation capabilities. Now, I'll give you an example. Recently, I visited Nepal, and I saw there was a huge difference between the telecommunication bandwidth, right? Now, we are running a 5G service here in India, but in Nepal, the networks were not even 4G, right? The SIM connections which I bought there was a regular company over there, and Nepal Cell or Ncell, which was the company's name over there. But the internet speed was not at par with the internet available here in India. Or if we compare India to US, the 5G facility which came up in like, let's say 1 or 2 years back, it was available in US from past 5 or 10 years, right? So there is a huge difference between the developed countries and developing countries. So developing countries are majorly facing the technological advancements and innovation capabilities issues, and you don't have right skillful people when you don't have technology access, right? Now, after the artificial intelligence advent, people are learning to use artificial intelligence, and nowadays we see a lot of videos coming up on social media which are stating that in future we are going to lose our jobs if we don't cope up, if we don't catch up with the artificial intelligence, if we don't learn the tools and technologies of artificial intelligence, we are going to lose jobs. So that will be a serious problem if we are not trained for that particular scenario. And that situation might be more worse if the people are thrown out of job, and because there is an emotional shock available at that moment, people would not even think of learning a new technological advancement, right? So insufficient technological advancements and innovation capabilities, and talking about dependence on primary commodity exports leading to price fluctuation. Now, when we see a lot of raw materials, like, or I would say a lot of finished goods, which are of better quality, let's say dry fruits, or let's say better quality fruits, better quality organic products, are all sent to some other nations as exports, and which leads to our country's consumption in a very poor state. Now, let's say our country's consumption is self-generated, and that particular produce which is not at par, or the quality is not at par with the quality which is being exported, and which will create some sort of diaspora in the minds of the consumers in India. And the same thing which is being sent from here as an export will be packaged and sent to us as imported goods, and will be sold to us on almost double the price. So that is creating some sort of gap between the economies, right? Moving to limited access to education and healthcare affecting human capital development. Now, when we talk about human capital development, people needs to be trained well. People needs to be skilled enough, and for that reason we need educational infrastructure. And when we don't have a right educational infrastructure, I mean, when we don't have right control mechanism for our primary education or say the higher education, we lag behind. For example, Germany is one such country wherein higher education as well as the primary education, both, or the intermediate education, all of them are almost free. But in India, we see a lot of businesses growing up in the form of educational institutions. There are mandis of educational institutions available in India, and private institutes are charging hefty amounts from the students to make them educated, right? Make them literate. I don't know about education, but literacy is for sure is being created in India. And it is the kind of education we are imparting, or let's say, for example, if we talk about researchers, in India, the quality of research is not at par with the research done in Europe or in US, right? So which is a major gap, and because of which we will not be skilled enough at par with the other nations' human capital, right? Political instability and governance issues hindering economic growth. Now, most of the developing countries face political instability. Example के तौर पे आपने देखा होगा अभी श्रीलंका का हालात, आपने बांग्लादेश का हालात देखे, अभी आपने अभी थोड़े टाइम पहले पाकिस्तान के हालात देखे, right? चलो, we are lucky enough, we have at least a stable government at least here, which is planning to make our country a developed country. But other countries, जो developing countries हैं जिनके बारे में कोई सोचता नहीं है, उनके countries के government instability के कारण there are issues which are hindering economic growth. अब इकोनॉमी की बात कौन करेगा जब आपकी गवर्नमेंट ही बार बार टर्बुलेंस में है, गवर्नमेंट आपकी चेंज होती रहती है टाइम टाइम पे, राइट? तो उस बारे में बात कौन करेगा कि आपकी इकोनॉमी को स्टेबलाइज करना है, राइट? सो चैलेंजेस इन अट्रैक्टिंग फॉरेन डायरेक्ट इन्वेस्टमेंट्स एंड टेक्नोलॉजी ट्रांसफर. नाउ when we talk about foreign direct investments, it means that a country is trying to invest in a specific developing country and they are trying to make investments in the form of capital assets, and they want to own that capital asset, acquire that capital asset and do the business in that country, in developing country, right? And which is not feasible now because developing countries lack the infrastructure and also they lack the kind of working environment over there. So if any country's investor think of, or developed country's investor thinks of planning to invest in a developing country, they will have to see through several factors. They will have to see through the stability of government, they will have to see through the stability of economic conditions, they will have to see towards the skillfulness of the human capital over there. So there are major hindrances and sometimes there are major constraints to understand that if a country can be invested into or not, right? So challenges in attracting foreign direct investments, FDI and technology transfer. Now, when we talk about foreign trade refers to exchange of goods, services and capital between countries. One thing which we are talking about international trade, it is the same thing only. Foreign trade here means that we are talking in the aspect of a country here, right? International trade means we are talking about it in a general scenario that world economy में क्या चल रहा है, किस तरह का trading हो रहा है, right? So herein, foreign trade refers to the exchange of goods or services and capital between the countries. So हम capital का transaction कैसे करते हैं? FDI के through, FPI के through. हम दूसरे country के stock exchanges में invest करते हैं, right? गुड्स और सर्विसेज का एक्सचेंज करते हैं, वो उधर से हमें रेमिटेंस होता है. अगर हम एक्सपोर्ट करते हैं, अगर हम इंपोर्ट करते हैं तो हमें रेमिट करना पड़ता है गुड्स और सर्विसेज के लिए, राइट? वी हैव टॉक्ड अबाउट दिस इन प्रीवियस वीडियोस. देन इट इन्वॉल्व्स द इंपोर्ट एंड एक्सपोर्ट ऑफ गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज अक्रॉस इंटरनेशनल बॉर्डर्स. नाउ it is one of the same thing only that we are trying to send our goods or services to another country beyond the border of our country, right? So foreign trade plays a vital role in economic development of a country. Now, when I have discussed it clearly that foreign trade will definitely create an impact, positive impact, if we are an export surplus country, if we are exporting much, then yes, we are creating a positive impact in our economy, the exporting country. And if we, let's say, we are importing much, we are lacking the resources, we are lacking the raw material, and we are importing much, in that case, it will have an adverse effect in our economy or negative impact on our economy, which means that our economy would not grow at the expected rate at what we want that particular economy to grow at, right? So it enables access to new markets and resources, fostering economic growth. See, all of this we have talked about several times that, okay, it will enable us to have access to a new market. Let's say Kazakhstan or Uzbekistan, we want to have access to their market. Now, what products specifically they are excelling at or what products they are selling in a good quantity, we want to have access to that because it might be the case that such products are not available easily in India or to some other countries also, some other developing countries. So in that case, we want to have access to those new markets and resources, fostering economic growth. Now, if those resources are met, those resources are given to us, we might be developing some other products which are of export quality and which can be sent to some other nations as export quality products, which will remit us in some form, and ultimately remittance will help us in growing our economy, right? That it is a simple mechanism. Then, talking about international trade, which helps countries specialize in producing goods they have a comparative advantage in. So we have talked about comparative advantage theory in the previous video, but let me explain you with an example. Let's say, for example, Brazil is good in producing cocoa, right? And then there is one country, Luxembourg, which is good in producing wheat and rice. Now let's say they have both their own comparative advantages. हमारा ब्राज़ील के पास कोकोआ प्रोड्यूस करने का कंपैरेटिव एडवांटेज है और हमारे लग्जमबर्ग के पास राइस एंड व्हीट प्रोड्यूस करने का कंपैरेटिव एडवांटेज है. चलो राइस एंड व्हीट छोड़ देते हैं, शुगर केन पकड़ लेते हैं. शुगर केन का हमारे पास एग्जाम्पल ले लेते हैं. शुगर केन लग्जमबर्ग का एक एडवांटेजियस प्रोडक्ट है. क्लाइमेटिक कंडीशन हो सकते हैं फैक्टर, या फिर उनका कैपिटल उनका फैक्टर हो सकता है, या फिर उनका लेबर उस तरह का उनका फैक्टर हो सकता है कि वो दोनों अलग अलग चीज़ों में एक्सपर्ट्स हैं. नाउ हाउ ट्रेड हेल्प देम, I'll let you know. Now, when they produce, let's say both the countries, if they are given 200 units of resources at one time. How many resources? 200 resources दिए गए उनको units, right? And दोनों countries ने क्या किया? Comparative advantage के according, दोनों countries क्या कर सकते हैं कि they will produce using 150 units यूज करके दे कैन प्रोड्यूस 15 टन ऑफ देयर एक्सपर्टीज प्रोडक्ट. सो लेट्स से लग्जमबर्ग विल प्रोड्यूस 15 टन ऑफ सुगर केन, ब्राजील विल प्रोड्यूस 15 टन ऑफ कोकोआ, राइट? अब ट्रेड ऑफ से फायदा क्या होगा? और ऑब्वियसली जो 50 यूनिट्स बचे थे, 50 यूनिट्स में उसने कोकोआ प्रोड्यूस किया लग्जमबर्ग ने, और 50 टन्स प्रोड्यूस किया हमारा शुगर केन प्रोड्यूस किया ब्राजील ने, राइट? अब हमारे पास अगर टोटल आउटपुट देखेंगे आप तो 150 टन हमारे पास है, 15 टन हमारे पास है आपका शुगर केन अगर लग्जमबर्ग की बात करें, और 5 टन के अराउंड हमारे पास है कोकोआ, राइट? सो लेट्स से 20 टन का टोटल आउटपुट दोनों कंट्रीज ने बनाया. अब हम अगर ट्रेड ऑफ करते हैं, ट्रेड ऑफ करते वक्त ये 50 नहीं है, 5 है. ये 50 यूनिट्स यूज किए थे रिसोर्सेज के, राइट? सो लेट्स से 5 टन कोकोआ, 5 टन शुगर केन प्रोड्यूस किया दोनों कंट्रीज ने अलग अलग. कंपैरेटिव एडवांटेज नहीं था उसको लेके. अब दोनों कंट्रीज अगर ट्रेड ऑफ करेंगे, लेट्स से मैंने कहा कि तुम्हारे पास 15 टन शुगर केन है लग्जमबर्ग के पास, और मेरे पास 15 टन कोकोआ है ब्राज़ील के पास, तो हम दोनों आपस में 5-5 टन का ट्रेड ऑफ कर लेते हैं. 5 टन तुम ले लो हमारा कोकोआ, ब्राज़ील ने बोला, और 5 टन अपना शुगर केन हमको दे दो, राइट? तो होगा क्या कि लग्जमबर्ग के पास बचेगा 10 टन ऑफ शुगर केन, ब्राज़ील के पास बचेगा 10 टन ऑफ कोकोआ, एंड हमने 5-5 तो प्रोड्यूस किया था क्योंकि हमारे पास कंपैरेटिव एडवांटेज नहीं था. तो जब हमने 5-5 बनाया था और 5 हमें मिल गया कहीं से, तो हमारे पास दोनों कंट्रीज के पास इक्वल अमाउंट ऑफ आउटपुट है, राइट? विच इज द थ्योरी ऑफ कंपैरेटिव एडवांटेज, कि हम अपने उन रिसोर्सेज की अवेलेबिलिटी को कम यूज करके जिसमें हमारा एक्सपर्टीज नहीं है बनाने का, और उन रिसोर्सेज को ज़्यादा यूज करके जिसमें हमारा एक्सपर्टीज है बनाने का, एडवांटेजियस सिचुएशन है बनाने का वो प्रोड्यूस, हम ट्रेड ऑफ करके एक पैरेलल इक्वल पोजीशन पे रह सकते हैं, राइट? दैट इज द एडवांटेज ऑफ ट्रेडिंग बिटवीन द कंट्रीज. एंड ये डेविड रिकार्डो करके एक इकोनॉमिस्ट थे, उन्होंने ये थ्योरीज दिए थे, राइट? सो विल टॉक अबाउट इट लेटर व्हेन वी गो थ्रू दोज थ्योरीज लेटर ऑन. नाउ फॉरेन ट्रेड पॉलिसीज आर एसेंशियल इन रेगुलेटिंग एंड प्रमोटिंग ट्रेड एक्टिविटीज. नाउ ऑब्वियसली एक कंट्री के अपने भी इंटरनल मैकेनिज्म में पॉलिसीज होती है, रेगुलेशंस होते हैं. अब वो पॉलिसीज रेगुलेशंस कितना फॉलोअप होते हैं दूसरे कंट्रीज़ के साथ, लेट्स से किसी कंट्री के साथ हम बहुत फ्रेंडली होंगे तो हमने उसके साथ लिबरलाइज कर रखे होंगे अपने पॉलिसीज, अपने रेगुलेशंस, और बहुत स्ट्रिंजेंट और स्ट्रिक्ट पॉलिसीज़ नहीं होंगे कि उनके साथ ट्रेड करना आसान नहीं है. बट कुछ कंट्रीज़ के साथ हमारा पॉलिसी और ट्रेड उस लेवल पे नहीं होगा, एंड प्रॉब्लम वहाँ पे ये आएगी कि हमारा एनिमी कंट्री हो सकता है या फिर हमारे एनिमी सपोर्टिंग कंट्री हो सकता है वो, राइट? सो बिकॉज ऑफ विच हम उनके साथ ट्रेड करना पसंद नहीं करते, एंड हम उनके लिए स्ट्रिक्ट स्ट्रिंजेंट पॉलिसीज लेके आते हैं, एंटी डंपिंग ड्यूटीज लेके आते हैं, जिसकी वजह से हम उनके साथ ट्रेड नहीं करते, राइट? सो वी हैव gone through foreign trade, we have gone through the problems in the world economy, right? So we'll take a short break and we'll continue after the break.
Now quality learning is easily available at your doorstep. S. Chand Academy brings detailed lectures based on UGC curriculum as per the New Education Policy 2020. So do not forget to subscribe to the S. Chand Academy and access the wide world of knowledge conveniently sitting within the comfort of your home. Stay connected and keep watching S. Chand Academy. Happy learning!
Welcome back to Asian Academy. Before the break, we have gone through the problems in the world economy, problems in the developing countries, and the foreign trade. Now we'll look into the foreign trade and economic growth, how both of them are related, foreign trade and economic growth. Now, how foreign trade helps in economic growth. We'll talk about it. Now, when we talk about foreign trade, we have clearly discussed the meaning of foreign trade. There is a difference between international trade and foreign trade. So foreign trade की बात जब हम करते हैं तो we are talking about a specific country के prospect से foreign trade क्या है. International trade की बात करते हैं तो हम बात करते हैं general scenario में international trade जो हो रहा है through the world economies वो क्या है, right? So foreign trade and economic growth के बारे में हम बात करेंगे, how foreign trade helps in economic growth and how it does not, right? Now when we talk about foreign trade plays a crucial role in India's economic growth. Now when we are talking about India, we are considering our country as a developing country here. And we have taken it as an example कि India as a developing country कैसे उसका foreign trade will help it in economic growth, right? Now foreign trade will obviously play a crucial role because when we think of foreign trade, we get to know about globalization, we think of better choices of products, we learn about so many aspects, we learn about so many scenarios throughout going around the world, right? So we'll definitely try to grow according to them. Now, the kind of road infrastructure being built by our government under the Road Transportation Ministry, which is headed by Nitin Gadkari sir, right? We are growing at a fast pace in the case of road infrastructure because we are following some of the specific countries which are developed countries, those are having high quality road infrastructure. And one country's road infrastructure will definitely help that country's transportation department to grow well. And because of which country will trade more, country will have better access to products and services, and because of which country will move at a fast pace in the terms of economic growth, right? Second part is that exports stimulate economic activity and create employment opportunities. Obviously, see, आप जब जितना लोगों को promote करेंगे अपने developing country में कि आप एक्सपोर्ट ग्रो करें, राइट, आप एक्सपोर्ट करना स्टार्ट करें, राइट, देयर विल बी इंस्टीट्यूशंस विच विल बी टीचिंग और ट्रेनिंग द पीपल हाउ टू एक्सपोर्ट, विच विल हेल्प आवर कंट्री टू ग्रो इन द सेंस दैट उनको एक तो एम्प्लॉयमेंट मिल रहा है, उनके एम्प्लॉयमेंट के साथ साथ दे विल ऑल्सो एम्प्लॉय सम ऑफ द स्किलफुल पीपल और समटाइम्स देयर विल बी अनस्किल्ड एम्प्लॉयमेंट ऑल्सो, राइट, एंड बिकॉज ऑफ विच एम्प्लॉयमेंट अपॉर्चुनिटीज विल ग्रो एंड अल्टीमेटली इट विल indirectly help in economic growth of the country. Talking about the import of capital goods and technology enhances productivity and competitiveness. Sometimes we might be lacking some sort of technology, some sort of a technological upgradation, and because of which we might not produce a kind of product, or we might not produce products which are needed, which are required for our growth. For example, if we want to make a technological infrastructure better in our country, we need to produce microchips. We need to produce those silicon chips, right? And those chips can only be produced with a specific infrastructure which is to be developed in our country, right? Now, government took a very right decision recently to ban or to basically put or impose higher duties on imports of microchips, which will lead what? Which will give a thought to our mind that if we really want to grow, we need such chips and we need to grow infrastructure for it. And for that, we will start developing such infrastructure very soon, right? Or sometimes we might have started also, right? Then, talking about foreign trade contributes to GDP growth and government revenue through custom duties. Foreign trade से remittance आता है, आपको बता चुका हूँ मैं, remittance की वजह से हमारा foreign currency exchange reserve भी बढ़ता है, and जिसकी वजह से हमारा GDP एक better situation में होता है, GDP grow भी करता है, and government revenue भी बढ़ता है, क्योंकि आप taxation भी दे रहे हो, government जो ड्यूटीज़ इम्पोज करती है इम्पोर्ट्स पे, एक्सपोर्ट्स पे, समटाइम्स उनको उनसे रेवेन्यू मिलता है एंड फॉरेन ट्रेड की वजह से उनको हेल्प होती है. तो इम्पोर्टेशन पे जो कस्टम ड्यूटीज़ लगते हैं क्लियरिंग आउट कस्टम्स, उससे उनका रेवेन्यू है गवर्नमेंट का, एंड ऑब्वियसली वो जीडीपी में कंट्रीब्यूट करता है एक्सपोर्ट इंपोर्ट करने से, राइट. Now, export-led growth strategy has been employed to boost economic development. Then when we talk about export-led growth strategy, mostly country would, मैं आपको इस बारे में बहुत बार बोल चुका हूँ कि नेट एक्सपोर्ट ज़्यादा अच्छा होना चाहिए. कंट्री का एक मेजर कंट्रीब्यूटर है जीडीपी का, कि कंजम्पशन, इन्वेस्टमेंट, एक्सपेंडिचर एंड नेट एक्सपोर्ट्स. तो नेट एक्सपोर्ट्स कब अच्छा होगा? जब आपका एक्सपोर्ट्स अच्छा होगा. एक्सपोर्ट्स बेटर देन इम्पोर्ट्स होगा, राइट. द रेवेन्यू जनरेटेड फ्रॉम एक्सपोर्ट विल बी बेटर देन इम्पोर्ट्स. सो उस केस में अगर एक्सपोर्ट लेड ग्रोथ हम टारगेट करते हैं या स्ट्रेटजाइज करते हैं, राइट, जिसकी वजह से इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट बेटर होगा, क्योंकि आपके पास आपके जीडीपी को बूस्ट करने के लिए नेट एक्सपोर्ट्स का एक कंपोनेंट है, राइट. एंड वो बढ़ेगा कैसे? जब आप ज़्यादा रेवेन्यू जनरेट करेंगे. नाउ टॉकिंग अबाउट इंटीग्रेशन इनटू ग्लोबल मार्केट्स fosters innovation and specialization in industries. When we globalize, when we integrate to the world economy, we get to know about so many technologies, so many features, so many scenarios which we can adopt in our country. अब अगर हम मान के चलते हैं कि अगर रोड इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की बात करी है मैंने, कि रोड इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर अगर डेवलप करना है तो हमें किसी को आइडियलाइज करना पड़ेगा, राइट. अगर सिमिलरली हमें टेक्नोलॉजिकली किसी को आइडियलाइज करके अगर हम अपनी कंट्री में वो टेक्नोलॉजी अपग्रेड करते हैं तो ऑब्वियसली वी आर स्टैंडिंग एट पार विद देम. सिमिलरली अगर हम एग्रीकल्चरल प्रोड्यूस की बात करें तो अगर सिर्फ छोटे से एग्रीकल्चरल प्रोड्यूस की बात करते हैं या फिर डेयरी प्रोडक्ट्स की बात करते हैं, यूएस स्पेसिफिकली एग्रीकल्चरली साउंड कंट्री माना जाता है, राइट. वैसे तो वो सर्विस सेक्टर कंट्री है, बट एग्रीकल्चर में जो भी लोग हैं वो बहुत कैपिटल इंटेंसिव टेक्नोलॉजी का यूज़ करते हैं. दे यूज़ मशीन्स टू डू एग्रीकल्चर, राइट, एंड बिकॉज ऑफ विच द प्रोडक्टिविटी इज़ हायर. सो अगर हम उनको आइडियलाइज करके अपने एग्रीकल्चरल पीपल को उनको ट्रेन करें, उनको एडवांस करें टेक्नोलॉजिकली, तो वो हमें बेटर आउटपुट देगा और बेटर प्रोडक्टिविटी होगी, जिसकी वजह से वो भी एक तरह से कंट्रीब्यूट कर सकता है. क्योंकि हम माना ये जाता है कि हम एक एग्रीकल्चरल बेस्ड इकोनॉमी है, तो अगर एग्रीकल्चरल बेस्ड इकोनॉमी है तो क्यों ना हम उसको इन्हांस करने के लिए हर दिन सोचें, राइट. हम टेक्नोलॉजी अपग्रेड करें, हम लोगों से पूछें, बात करें, दूसरे कंट्री के एक्सपर्ट्स बुला के यहाँ ट्रेनिंग दिलवाएं, उस तरह के काम करें, right. Talking about trade imbalances and external shocks can pose challenges to economic growth. अब trade imbalances का मतलब ये है कि आप हर दिन बस इंपोर्ट करे जा रहे हो क्योंकि आपके पास सेल्फ सफिशिएंसी है नहीं. नेपाल जैसा कंट्री इंपोर्ट बेस्ड कंट्री माना जाता है. उनके गाड़ियाँ मारुति 800 ऑल्टो आप देखोगे 15 लाख 20 लाख इस रेंज में सेल आउट हो रही है, राइट. वहाँ पे उनके करेंसी में, विच इज़ ऑलमोस्ट 15, अगर कोई 20 लाख का गाड़ी है उधर तो विच इज़ ऑलमोस्ट 15 लाख इन इंडियन करेंसी, और वो भी मारुति 800 या ऑल्टो जैसी गाड़ियाँ जो नेपाल में अभी बिक रही हैं. इफ वी थिंक अबाउट दोज व्हीकल्स, या फिर हम अगर बात करते हैं ग्रोथ की, तो जो ट्रेड इम्बैलेंस है वो कहीं ना कहीं हमें इम्पैक्ट करता है, डेवलपिंग कंट्री को इम्पैक्ट करता है. टॉकिंग अबाउट एक्सटर्नल शॉक्स, कहीं पे कोई रिसेशन आ गया, कहीं पे कोई क्राइसिस हो गया, कहीं पे फाइनेंशियल क्राइसिस हो गया, या फिर किसी कंट्री में जहाँ पे हमारे लोग हैं या फिर डेवलपिंग कंट्री के लोग हैं वहाँ पे कोई नेचुरल कैलामिटी हो गई, या फिर वहाँ पे कोई मैन मेड डिजास्टर क्रिएट हो गया, जिस वजह से इट विल इम्पैक्ट दी डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज इकोनॉमी एज वेल. बिकॉज outside India or outside any other developing economy, if the people of that economy lives outside country, they live because they want to earn for our country, they want to remit our country in some sense, right. और वो impact होगा तो वो कहीं ना कहीं हमारे economy को भी influence करेगा. And sometimes there are intrusions, terrorism activities which lead to our people being trapped there. फिर हम उनको वहाँ से निकालने की सोचते हैं, उस पर खर्च करते हैं, बहुत सारी चीज़ें चलती है, राइट. देन व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट अ बैलेंस्ड ट्रेड पॉलिसी इज एसेंशियल फॉर सस्टेन्ड एंड इंक्लूसिव इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ. सी, बैलेंस्ड ट्रेड इकोनॉमी और बैलेंस्ड ट्रेड पॉलिसी इज वेरी मच एसेंशियल. व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट बैलेंस चेंज or balanced trade policy, it we mean that we have good import-export policy decision making, we have good infrastructure development, we have initiated export escalation, we have started the employment generation through exports. So a balanced trade policy means that we want to have a good balance of payment in altogether, right? So that is all about the foreign trade and economic growth, how economy is being helped through foreign trade. Here we will end the video, and in this particular video we have gone through the problems in the developing countries. We have talked about foreign trade. We have talked about the growth of a developing economy with the help of foreign trade. We'll see you in some other video with some other topic. Thank you.
To get in-depth knowledge of various subjects in commerce, we recommend these books from S. Publishing and Vikas Publishing House. Link is provided in the description box. If you found our video interesting, please like, share and subscribe. And do not forget to press the bell icon.
All rights reserved. This video has been prepared for educational purposes only. No part of it may be reproduced or copied without the permission of the copyright holder.